June 2016, the Syrian desert, somewhere near the Al-Tanf border crossing, where Syria, Iraq and Jordan meet at a single point of dust and heat. A column of vehicles idles on the perimeter of a shattered rebel base. They are not painted in British military green. They carry no Union Jack. They bear no regimental markings. They look at first glance like the same white Toyota pickups that every militia, every rebel faction, and every Islamic State convoy in the Middle East has been driving for the past decade. They are covered in dust, they are loaded with heavy machine guns, anti-tank missiles and sniper rifles, and the men standing beside them are not Syrian, they are not American. They are members of the Special Air Service, Britain's most secretive military unit, and they are fighting a war that Parliament never authorised. The vehicles themselves look like something any local fighter could have bought from a dealership in Oman. Ordinary, civilian, forgettable. That was exactly the point, because these machines would go on to replace every purpose-built British military vehicle in theatre, outperform platforms costing 3 times as much, be adopted by more than 15 nations, and deliver over 500 units to special forces across 4 continents. Its name was the Al-Thalab, the Arabic word for fox, and it was the vehicle that proved Britain's most elite soldiers did not need a British vehicle to fight. They needed a Toyota. To understand why the SAS abandoned Land Rover and Supacat for a civilian chassis, you need to understand the lineage they were walking away from, and why every vehicle in that lineage had the same fatal flaw. The SAS has been modifying civilian vehicles for war since 1942, when David Stirling's men bolted Vickers machine guns onto Willys jeeps in the North African desert. After the war, that tradition continued. In 1968, the Ministry of Defence purchased 72 Land Rover Series 2 A109s, and sent them to Marshals of Cambridge for conversion. They received long-range fuel tanks holding roughly 100 gallons, twin general-purpose machine guns, smoke dischargers, sand channels, and a distinctive pink desert camouflage designed to blend into the haze of dusk and dawn. The soldiers called them Pink Panthers. They served the regiment for nearly 2 decades, from Oman to the Falklands, and became the most iconic Special Forces vehicle Britain ever produced. By 1991, the Pink Panthers were gone, replaced by Land Rover 110 Desert Patrol vehicles. A&D squadrons of 22 SAS drove them deep into western Iraq during the Gulf War, hunting Scud missile launchers in patrols lasting weeks. The vehicles worked, but they broke down constantly. Spare parts had to be flown in from Britain. And every time a patrol crossed open desert, the silhouette of a Land Rover announced to anyone watching that Western Special Forces were operating in the area. Then came Afghanistan, and with it, the Supacat HMT-400. Designated the Jackal by the British Army from 2007, it was a clean-sheet design built in Dunkerswell, Devon, by a company that had started making forestry machines. It featured racing car-derived independent suspension, variable height air springs, and a weapons platform capable of mounting a 50 caliber heavy machine gun, a 40mm grenade launcher, or a general-purpose machine gun. The Jackal was exceptional. Over 575 Jackals and Coyotes were procured between 2007 and 2010. In Afghanistan, where the enemy fought with roadside bombs and the terrain punished every vehicle that crossed it, the Jackal's blast protection and mobility were unmatched. But Syria was not Afghanistan. In Syria, the enemy was the Islamic State. The terrain was flat, open desert stretching hundreds of kilometres between scattered towns. The British government had authorised airstrikes against Islamic State in December 2015, but it had not authorised ground troops. The SAS was there anyway, and the one thing a Jackal could not do was disappear. A Jackal weighs nearly 7 tons. It sits on massive off-road tyres with a distinctive high-mounted weapons ring visible from a kilometre away. It requires a bespoke Western logistics chain for every spare part, every seal, every hydraulic line. In a country where Toyota pickups are as common as dust, a Jackal might as well carry a flag reading British Special Forces operating here. The answer came from an unlikely source, a British company called Jankel Armouring, founded by a London-born coach builder named Robert Jankel, who had spent most of his career building armoured Rolls-Royces and Bentleys for heads of state. Jankel had entered the military market in 1997, armouring vehicles for the Royal Ulster Constabulary, then upgrading the British Army's Land Rover fleet with modular armour kits during the Iraq War. By 2003, the company had formed a joint venture with Jordan's King Abdullah II Design and Development Bureau, creating a manufacturing partnership called Jordan Light Vehicle Manufacturing at the KADDB Industrial Park in the Mafraq Governorate, roughly 50 kilometres from Amman. What they built together was the Al-Thalab, and its most important feature was the one thing no British defence contractor had ever considered a military advantage. It was built on a Toyota Land Cruiser 79 series chassis. The vehicle itself was a 4x4 long-range patrol platform carrying a crew of 4, with room for 2 stretchers in a casualty evacuation configuration. The chassis was a tropical specification Land Cruiser, fitted with a 4.2-litre 6-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine, a 5-speed manual gearbox, full-time 4-wheel drive, and Toyota's own front and rear differential locks. On top of the standard chassis sat a tubular steel space-frame superstructure mounted on flexible interface joints, so the frame could flex independently over rough ground, without cracking welds or distorting weapon mounts. The front carried a swing-arm mount for a 7.62mm general-purpose machine gun. The rear carried a geared traversing ring mount capable of accepting a 12.7mm heavy machine gun or a 30mm automatic grenade launcher. The fuel system gave the vehicle a range of up to 1,500 kilometers without resupply, enough for 10-day patrols across open desert. It could reach a top speed of 140 kilometers per hour. It was fully air transportable, sized to fit inside a Chinook helicopter, and its gross vehicle weight was just over 4,300 kilograms, roughly half the weight of a Jackal. But none of those numbers mattered as much as this. Every mechanical component under the bonnet, every seal, every bearing, every filter was a standard Toyota part. The same parts sitting on shelves in garages from Amman to Aleppo, from Baghdad to Benghazi. A broken axle on a Jackal meant a military logistics flight from Britain. A broken axle on an Al-Thalab meant a trip to the nearest town. Now, before we get into where this vehicle actually fought, and why the photographs that proved it existed caused a political crisis in London, if you're finding this deep dive into British Special Forces engineering valuable, hit subscribe. It takes a second, costs nothing, and helps the channel grow. In August 2016, the BBC's Middle East correspondent Quentin Somerville published a set of photographs that the Ministry of Defence had never intended the public to see. The images, taken in June of that year, showed armed men in desert fatigues guarding the perimeter of a rebel base at Al-Tanf, a strategic border crossing in southeastern Syria. The men carried sniper rifles, heavy machine guns and anti-tank guided missiles. The vehicles behind them were Al-Thalabs, and the men were British. It was the first time United Kingdom Special Forces had been photographed operating inside Syria. The Ministry of Defence declined to comment, invoking its standing policy of neither confirming nor denying Special Forces operations. But an independent source confirmed to The Guardian that the operators were UK Special Forces fighting Islamic State in Syria, Iraq and Libya. When the Middle East Eye asked a Syrian rebel fighter how he knew the men at Al-Tanf were British, the answer was direct: because they trained us, and because they introduced themselves as British Special Forces. The base at Al-Tanf had been the site of intense fighting. Islamic State had captured the border crossing in May 2015. The United States-backed New Syrian Army recaptured it in early 2016, but the base faced repeated attacks, including vehicle-borne suicide bombings that killed at least 11 rebel fighters. British and American Special Forces were embedded at the base, training local fighters, calling in coalition airstrikes and conducting patrols deep into Islamic State-held desert. The Al-Thalab was ideal for this environment. It blended into the visual landscape of a war zone where every faction drove Toyotas. Its maintenance demands could be met locally. Its low profile and civilian silhouette allowed operators to move through territory where an overtly Western military vehicle would have drawn immediate attention and, potentially, a political crisis. That political dimension was not hypothetical. Parliament had voted to authorise airstrikes against Islamic State in Syria, but it had never debated or approved the deployment of ground troops. The SAS operates under a unique exemption from parliamentary scrutiny. United Kingdom Special Forces are not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. The Ministry of Defence's blanket refusal to comment means that deployments, casualties, and operational details remain permanently classified unless leaked. Critics, including the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Drones and the Remote Warfare Programme, have argued that this framework allows the government to deploy special forces in place of conventional troops, specifically to avoid parliamentary accountability. The irony of the vehicle choice was not lost on defence analysts. The Toyota Land Cruiser and its smaller sibling, the Hilux, had become the most recognisable tools of irregular warfare on Earth. In 1987, during the final phase of the Chadian-Libyan conflict, Chadian forces equipped by France with roughly 400 Toyota pickups, many mounting Milan anti-tank guided missiles, routed the Libyan army in a campaign so dominated by the vehicles that historians named it the Toyota War. At the Battle of Feda alone, Chad lost just 18 soldiers and 3 pickups, while destroying 92 Libyan T-55 tanks and killing 784 Libyan troops. After that, The Toyota Technical became the standard platform of insurgent warfare from Somalia to Syria. Islamic State made the white Toyota Hilux part of its visual identity, parading columns of them through captured cities, and now British Special Forces were hunting Islamic State in the same vehicle. The fox and its prey drove the same machine, only the superstructure was different. The Al-Thalab was not the end of the story. Jankel continued to develop the platform, marketing it globally as the Fox family in variants built on both the Land Cruiser 79 series and the Toyota Hilux chassis. France procured the Fox under license. Manufactured by Tecnam at its Lambesc facility, Belgium ordered 108 Fox rapid reaction vehicles. Jordan operates approximately 200 Al-Thalabs. Indonesia's Kopassus Special Forces adopted the vehicle for jungle and counter-terrorism operations. By July 2023, Jankel chairman Andrew Jankel confirmed that over 500 Fox family vehicles had been delivered to more than 15 end-user nations, including the United Kingdom, the United States, New Zealand, Romania, Oman, South Korea, Brunei, Spain, Italy, Botswana and Mauritania. Jankel Armouring Limited itself entered administration in February 2024, and its assets were acquired by NP Aerospace the following June, but the Fox continued in production and in service. The Supacat Jackal remains in British Army service. It is a superior vehicle in almost every measurable category. It is faster off-road, it is better protected against blast. Its suspension system is a generation ahead. On paper, the Jackal outperforms the Al-Thalab in every dimension that a military procurement officer would measure. But procurement officers do not fight covert wars in the Syrian desert. The SAS does, and the SAS chose the Toyota, June 2016, the Syrian desert, near the Al-Tanf border crossing. A column of dust-covered vehicles sits on the perimeter of a battered rebel base. They have no armour worth measuring by Western standards. They carry no encrypted battle management system. They have no variable height suspension, no blast attenuating seats, no composite hull, and yet they worked. They worked in the open desert east of Palmyra, where patrols lasted 10 days without resupply. They worked at Al-Tanf, where suicide vehicles detonated against the perimeter and British operators returned fire from weapon mounts designed in Weybridge and built in Mafraq. They worked in a war that Parliament never debated, in a country where every other vehicle on the road was the same make and model. The Al-Thalab was not powerful, it was not sophisticated, it was not even, in any traditional sense, British. It was a Jordanian-built Toyota, designed by a company that started out armouring Rolls-Royces, fielded by soldiers whose regiment was born in the North African desert 80 years earlier, in armed jeeps that were not British either. Some lessons take a long time to relearn. David Stirling understood in 1942 that the best Special Forces vehicle is not the most advanced. It is the one you can fix, hide and replace. 74 years later, in the same kind of desert, against a different enemy, the SAS proved he was right. That is not coincidence. That is operational doctrine written in sand.